A black convoy glides through Pyongyang. Armored doors, German leather, and a question that stings. How does a sanctioned state buy this life? Sanctions say no yachts, no champagne, no supercars. Yet the leader's table is full. The garage is stocked. The train is plush. The watches gleam. Follow the money. It doesn't move in a straight line. It moves like smoke. Start at the core. A secretive office in Pyongyang, known as Office 39, a slush fund for the ruling family. It runs like a corporation. It hunts hard currency, it feeds loyalty, and it pays for luxury. Where does the cash come from? Three pillars: old trades bent into the shadows, new cybercrime built for speed, and networks that shapeshift to dodge rules. First, the old world. Coal, tons of it, officially banned, unofficially moving. Barges go dark off the radar. Ship-to-ship transfers at sea. New flags, new names, same cargo. Coal lands in foreign ports as something else. Cash comes back as consulting fees. Then sand, mountains of sand dredged from rivers and coasts, sold to fuel construction abroad. It's heavy, it's cheap, but multiply it, and the money adds up. Seafood too. Catch rebranded. Boats without names, frozen, packed, redirected. By the time it hits a market, the trail is gone. Fishing rights are leased quietly. Foreign fleets prowl North Korean waters, pay in dollars. The sea is a bank account. Art adds a glossy veneer. A state studio carves giant statues for foreign capitals. Bronze heroes, smiling leaders, contracts signed in back rooms, payments routed through front firms. Arms once flowed as well. Ammunition, rockets, and parts, historically sold to buyers under the table, now watched tighter. But networks survive. Old contacts don't forget numbers. Second, the people. Laborers sent abroad, officially banned, unofficially present, on construction sites, in logging camps, on factory floors, paychecks skimmed heavily by handlers, remittances wired in pieces. Families back home keep quiet. The state collects most of it. Diplomats play a quiet role. They're not just diplomats. They're shoppers, they're bankers, they're couriers. They buy watches in Europe, spirits in Asia, cigarettes by the crate. They move them under cover of immunity. A pouch that customs can't open is a useful tool. Now the new world. Keyboards instead of cranes. The Lazarus Group, a state-backed team. They raid banks with code. They break into crypto exchanges. They launder coins through mixers and over-the-counter brokers. One year it's hundreds of millions. Another, billions. Crypto jumps borders at the speed of a click. Hard currency follows. Remember the Bangladesh central bank hack? Swift codes, fake transfers, millions moving before anyone blinked. Think of that as a blueprint. Then came ransomware. Then the great crypto harvest. From Tokyo to Seoul to California. Passwords cracked, hot wallets drained. A state treasury built on ones and zeros. How does luxury arrive? Not on a single ship, on a maze of ships. A crate leaves Rotterdam labeled harmless. It hops to a second vessel in the open ocean. It disappears from trackers for a while. It resurfaces in a new port with new papers. Analysts once traced armored limousines that bounced through Europe and Asia like ghosts. Different handlers, different shell companies, same destination. The route might curl through a free trade zone. A middleman masks the buyer. Invoices say machine parts. Insurance files list industrial equipment. Inside the container, a Maybach, or high-end stereo gear, or vintage wines. Hong Kong shells, Singapore pass-throughs, a broker in Dandong, a refiner in Vladivostok, a freight forwarder in the Gulf. Each takes a cut, each blurs the picture. By the time the box hits Nampo, the trail is soot. Air helps too. Small jets on quiet runways, luxury and hand luggage. A Swiss watch fits in a pocket. So does a pouch of diamonds. A sommelier's dream fits in a few cases. Then there's the train, the leader's armored train. It creeps in from the border. It's not just a ride, it's a pipeline. Private chefs aboard, imported fruit, French cheese, bottles strapped down against the sway. Sanctions list the forbidden, cars above certain engine sizes, fine jewelry, yachts, spirits, even skis and snow gear hit the lists. But the list can't see inside every container. They can't open every diplomatic trunk. They can't decrypt every wallet. What about fuel? Sanctions cap refined petroleum, yet tankers meet at sea. Hoses pass in the dark. Manifests lie politely. Cars keep moving in Pyongyang. Generators hum. The elite do not wait in line. Trade data tells on itself. When borders reopened after the pandemic freeze, exports and imports surged. Cosmetics, watches, musical instruments. Blips appear in customs logs with innocent names. The story sits in the subcategories. Geopolitics nudges the flow. When neighbors turn a blind eye, the river widens. When great powers need leverage, gifts appear. A luxury sedan here, spare parts there. A quiet shipment of cognac for a loud promise of artillery. And the banks? Some look away. Some get fooled. Some get tricked by layered payments. A daisy chain of accounts makes the money look clean. By the end, it buys crystal glasses without a ripple. Why does this persist? Because the system rewards loyalty. Luxury is currency. A horse for a general. A watch for a minister. A case of Bordeaux for a deal closed. The circle tightens. The palace glows. The cost lands elsewhere. On farmers without fertilizer. On traders chased from markets. On families paying fees to send money home. On lights that flicker in rural towns while chandeliers blaze in Pyongyang. Sanctions squeeze the edges. Networks adapt. Smugglers learn new tricks. Hackers find new holes. Office 39 counts the haul. And the motorcade keeps rolling. Start with 2 cars, black, armored, German. They leave a European port on paper, then vanish in paperwork fog. Containers bounce across Asia. Shanghai, Osaka, Busan. Bills of lading change hands. Owners morph into shells of shells. A final transfer in a quiet harbor. A new flag flutters on the stern. Transponders go dark in the Yellow Sea. And the sedans roll up in Pyongyang. Windows smoked. Paint immaculate. Sanctions mocked. That's the pattern. Not one route. A maze. Front companies registered in island offices. Executives who don't exist. Warehouses with no doors. Bank accounts opened on Tuesday, closed by Friday. Phones that ring once, then go dead. On the water, the game is older. Names repainted overnight. Tonnage scraped and re-stenciled. Automatic identifiers switched off or spoofed with borrowed signals. 2 ships meet at dawn. Hulls kiss in a swell. Hoses snake across the gap. Fuel in, cash out. Manifests claim machinery parts. The sea swallows the evidence. Coal still moves, not as coal, as construction aggregate, as slag. Barges hug foreign coasts. A harbor crane swings. Cameras turn the other way. A truck convoy hums inland. Money trickles back through brokers. Skims distribute up the ladder. Office 39 updates a spreadsheet. Sand even becomes cash. Tons dredged from North Korean shores, loaded under moonlight, shipped to booming cities across a river. Receipts vanish in the wash of progress. Fishing rights are sold. Foreign trawlers swarm North Korean waters. A steel wall of lights at night. Small wooden boats are pushed farther out. They don't always return. Ghost hulls drift to Japanese beaches. Salt and silence aboard. The lifeline runs through one city. Dandong, a river city that looks like any other. But its alleys hum with code words. Shoes that mean smartphones. Engines that mean luxury watches. WeChat pings in neon-lit tea rooms. Payments bounce across digital wallets. Inspectors collect fees for compliance. A sealed truck crosses the Friendship Bridge. Customs declarations look clean. Inside, the cargo gleams. Diplomats play merchants too. An embassy in a quiet European street. Boxes marked official use. Inside, top-shelf liquor. Cigarettes by the case. Perfume and watches. Sold out a side door for cash. Rent collected under the table. A BMW parked out back, with plates that can't be towed. Immunity is a business model. Labor exports persist in the shadows. Construction crews in a distant city. Shifts long. Passports held. Wages skimmed before payday. Remittances routed through a trusted handler. The envelope lands in Pyongyang wrapped in a party slogan. Art becomes currency. Giant bronze leaders rise in African capitals, cast in workshops back home. Mansudae sends sculptors overseas. They come back with hard currency and stories that aren't repeated. Then the cyber pivot changes the scale. No ships, no borders, just code. A group with a mythic name opens laptops in the night. Targets glow on a screen. A central bank printer hums at 2 a.m. Transfer orders slide past drowsy filters. A single typo in an address saves a fortune, but tens of millions still vanish. Later, crypto exchanges bleed faster. Hot wallets drained in seconds. A glitch becomes a highway. A bridge contract is bent into a siphon. Assets zip through mixers and OTC brokers. A Chinese middleman takes a cut and a risk. Cash emerges in brown stacks. Somehow, it ends up where it always does. Sanctions list names. So names are shed. Cousins and classmates step in. State companies rebrand with fresh logos. A seafood exporter becomes an electronics trader. Then a humanitarian supplier. Then a ghost. One ship gets caught. A bulk carrier seized in distant waters. Paint still wet over its old identity. Photos splashed across headlines. Fines levied. A captain arrested. Back on the river border, 3 similar ships load at dawn. Sometimes they trade hardware for hard favors. Artillery shells for diesel. Rockets for grain. Trainloads cross a northern border unseen by officials who prefer not to see. Satellite images pick up boxcars and cranes. Official denials follow. But the lights in certain compounds burn brighter after. Luxury slips through in diplomatic pouches and cardboard. Snowmobiles arrive in crates labeled farm equipment. Cognac rides in with medical supplies. Designer bags nestle among spare parts. A custom stamp kisses the box. A convoy takes it from there. Inside the system, gifts are government. A provincial boss gets a Swiss watch. A general gets keys to a foreign SUV. A factory manager gets a crystal set and a photo with the leader. Loyalty becomes tangible, displayed behind glass, posted on walls, whispered about in hallways. That's the real currency. The pandemic slowed everything. Borders slammed shut. Smugglers went quiet. The party hoarded rice and fuel. Crypto picked up the slack. Laptop money fed motorcades when trucks could not. Then the bridge reopened. Trains rolled again. Sprayers hissed disinfectant over containers. And the old channels blinked back to life. Foreign banks play whack-a-mole. Compliance teams flag familiar patterns. Anomalies trigger alarms. Accounts shut. But money learned new paths long ago. Hawala-style networks bridge the gaps. A promise in Dandong becomes cash in Pyongyang without crossing a border. Trust and fear do the accounting. Every layer takes a bite. Border guards, mid-level partymen, brokers in cheap suits who dress better on weekends. But the largest share rises. Up staircases lined with portraits. Into safes behind carved doors. From there, it flows into palaces and pleasure grounds. Look at the coastline near Wonsan. A marina took shape. Yachts bob under cotton clouds. A private beach glows under floodlights. Ski lifts glide in a country where many have never seen a chairlift. A luxury train car slides past shuttered stations, all paid by routes most citizens will never know exist. The contradiction fuels itself. Sanctions close one gap. Necessity opens 5 more. Each successful run buys another layer of protection. Another encrypted phone, another official convinced it's better not to ask. And behind it all, a single office tallies the take. Numbers turned into loyalty. Loyalty turned into survival. Survival turned into spectacle. The world tightens the net. In villas tucked into forested hills, a glass clinks anyway. This is how opulence arrives in a starving state. Not in straight lines, but in loops. Across oceans, through code, over a narrow bridge lined with flags and cameras. It arrives in silence, then announces itself with a horn blast and a red carpet. The question isn't whether it works. It does. The question is what it buys beyond champagne and chrome. We follow that next. It buys loyalty. Not the slogan kind, the survival kind. Apartments on Ryomyeong Street. Keys in velvet boxes. Elevators that work when the grid fails. It buys entourages, drivers with full tanks, chefs with real butter, doctors who don't run out of anesthetic. It buys silence, from people who see the books, from officers who move the crates, from bankers who know the names. It buys careers. A general gets a Mercedes.